When it comes to my nephew, he's at the perfect age to get him interested in tabletop role playing. But as anybody knows, one's first experience, or at least first few experiences, determine a lot about their feelings regarding a hobby or a person, for that matter, for the rest of their life. For instance, first time I ever tried playing basketball, I saw my brother and his friends playing, older brother. I said, hey, can I play? He goes, yeah, you can get one shot, which is already not fair. I was like 5. And so I could barely lift the ball, but I did my best. And all of them jumped and just stuffed the ball. Like it literally hit my face. Yeah, that's why I have this channel and I'm not hooping it up right now, because they got half of it right, actually. Half of the equation, obviously, is you have to give the kid a chance. You have to give them some sort of chance that they could possibly be good at it, which they didn't do. But they did create like an aspirational level that you could get to, right? Because there has to be a starting point and there has to be like somewhere where they, of what they know is possible. And as I was looking through my games here, I was trying to come up with some sort of system, ranking system maybe, to talk about what kind of games might be good to bring kids who are interested into the fold of tabletop role playing. And before I talk about any others, I gotta say I've been browsing this PNPArcade.com, which is the print and play arcade. Most of the games on there, especially a lot of the best games, are free. And some of them might be a little too complicated, like the Shield of Achilles, maybe a little, that might not be that bad, actually. Utopia Engine might be a tough first one. I don't know. I think I am still not old enough to fully manage everything, but this is unbelievable. This is Utopia Engine is like these 3 pages. You're trying to create the engine that saves the world. So here is like you're in the wilderness looking for different parts and then you're putting it together here. This is the printer friendly one. There's actually a sequel to it as well. Both of these are free. Beast Hunter. And these ones, it might be a little much. Like I'm thinking of my nephew. He's 8, and so he might think it's cool to look at, but it's probably too much information. However, I think one like Planet Run would be really good. And this I think is good because it's going to teach a few of the skills that are necessary, which is like, hey, this is a game, but it's not ready yet. You got to do some stuff to make it ready, right? Because if there's the expectation that this is going to be the same exact experience as like this, it's not going to be, right? There needs to be some sort of separate pieces to it, and those pieces need to be very obvious from the start, rather than saying, oh yeah, this is all ready for you every time. You're just gonna be able to hop into it every time. That sort of climb to get to the place where you're able to play is part of the fun, right? So opportunities to make them feel proud of themselves, make them feel industrious, helpful, etc. Those are all great, and I think that these games are really good for that. Some of them. You should check it out, though. If you've never been to pnparcade.com, they have some, like, as you can see, they have some very straightforward games, but there's also games where I've been like, wow, this is incredible. Like, how are we not pumping these out by the truckload? Now, it would not be my forte to make a roll and write game like this, but I know that some of you, this is like a skill of yours that is just waiting to burst out. So you should check some of these out if you're the type of person that has a certain type of like drawing capability and you are really good at managing moving pieces that interlock together. That could be your curling. I always think of curling as the one Olympic sport that if given a year and unlimited funding for training, it is the one sport that I could potentially make it to the Olympics in. That or hurdles. Did I say hurdles? I meant turtles. So I'm not going to rank these. I don't think anyone's served by rankings in this case. But I'm just going to show you some of the criteria that I was thinking about as I chose these games. And to be clear, these are games that they're not. This video is not like games for kids. This is games that I think would be good to play alongside them. Whether that means playing with them as like a member of your party, having them play as you support them through it, or you playing and helping them play, right? Because I think a kid wants to play a real game. I'll never forget, we had Nintendo, and it was like the first big Nintendo Christmas. And everybody in the family got like a really cool Nintendo game, but I was a little young, and I got this Sesame Street game. And it stunk. It was terrible. There was something where you get, I think maybe you had to hit Big Bird's foot with a hammer or something. I don't really remember, but I remember like I could tell that it was no good because it was a kid's game. And meanwhile, my siblings, what do they have? They had Super Contra. They had Metroid. They had Kid Icarus. I mean, I would have loved to suck at any of those games rather than be a connoisseur at Bert and Ernie finding the pebbles in their soup or whatever. Man, what was that game? All right, I think I found it. And honestly, I remember this. I paused it right here. You're going to go through this with me because there's a part where Big Bird starts flopping around and he doesn't stop. He won't stop. Watch. What is this game? Here. Oh, I thought I was... Oh, yep, here we go. Look at this moron. Every time you... Please stop. Look at this. It just goes on and on. You know how humiliating this was? Ugh. Still going. Are you kidding me? That's what you get. You did like that's what you get for just identifying a letter, not even spelling anything. So yeah, not like that. So what we're looking for here is obviously a game that is going to be like able to be comprehended by a kid, but obviously maybe don't set your expectations that low. You don't need to do a little floating dance every time a kid understands the difference between an uppercase V and a lowercase t. But the kid needs to comprehend it. All right. And two, though, I should say, let's actually pair that up and bring it to its fullness. It needs to present some sort of challenge from the kid, for the kid, like to know that there is something working against you. Shouldn't be devastating. Harper's Quest. This was the game that my nephew, it got him. It unlocked him. And the best thing about Harper's Quest is that it has like every part of a tabletop game, which for some kids might be too much. And I have a couple ideas of some that are too much. But here's the other thing that Harper's Quest does really well. You like it. Like it's not a slog for you, right? You also will enjoy playing it and be able to stay enthused about it because, when kids are really little, you got to read them these stories. They suck. There's nothing happening. It's like, okay, here's a blue fish. What did the blue fish do? Is it getting divorced? What is it afraid of? Or why isn't it afraid of anything, right? Why is it so self-destructive? But instead, all you get is, here's a red fish, here's a blue fish. Are they engaged? Are they in a dispute, a custody dispute? You don't know. It needs to be something more. Now, if you think that the kid might like just a little bit of cause and effect and rolling dice, right? Say they like board games. A game like Rosethorn Keep is going to be awesome for that. First of all, it starts with a picture of a dog. But this is fun because it's super simple, right? And it's not intimidating. This also, though, actually, this one made me think of another point here is that, and you'd be surprised, I definitely am surprised with my nephew, but um, the games can't be scary or even accidentally scary. Like Slay the Spire, he's really into that now. But when I first showed it to him like 2 years ago, most of it was fine, and like the slimes were fine and everything. And then there's like one boss that was it like I didn't register it as scary, but there was something about it that was like a little more vivid, a little bit more menacing, um, even though it's it's cartoonish. So this one here, it's like Rosethorn Keep. If this had too many scary pictures, like a kid is actually not going to pick up on something like this, where it's just sort of a scary type of um, motif or something like that. They're not really going to absorb that. It's pictures and stuff like that. And so this game really great because it's essentially you're rolling dice, you're gradually getting better. The kid will be able to make choices. They'll be able to beat the game. They'll be able to advance. They'll be able to try harder. There's some different varieties. You also can fill in things here, like you will be able to make more vivid for them. What does the kitchen look like? What's in the stables? And that kind of thing is going to help them to encourage them to use their imagination. Uh, these are all honorable mentions. We're going to take a look at 3 specifically. Now, if your kid's a goose lover, the Majestic Goose. I mean, come on. Majestic Goose here, or shall I say, a game about the most wonderful of creatures, the Majestic Goose, beloved amongst waterfowl for its charming looks and wise ways. These are, especially here, like I say, write in these books. When you have books like this that have these actual prompts, a kid will really, really love filling this stuff in. And then what I do, and believe it or not, this is the second Majestic Goose that I have. Thank you, Daniel D. Is I will be like, you know what? You wrote in that, you can keep that. Which is like definite. I get that that's uncle energy. That might but not be mom and dad energy, but that's uncle energy for sure. Which is like, no, dude, this is yours. You filled it out. You're the one that did it. And what I like about this is the ability to make something from nothing. You want the kid to because look, they're going to be inundated with games that are just like blah blah blah. That are giving, they're going to passively absorb those games, and it's going to turn their brains into porridge. All right. You want something that you say, no, 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 you have to create. You have to bring something to this game. And I think these next 3 are going to definitely achieve that. Encourage creation. You like it. These ones are a Anna Blackwell 3-pack here. This is Delve, Rise, and Umbra. Now, these are ones that I think could be really, really fun. And the sort of plentitude in these, just like the images, there's tons to look at. There's lots of variations. Kids, more than anyone, are really good at getting lost in complex images. This is going to be fun for them to help you with, but you got to be careful with games like this that seem like they're really child friendly. I don't think that this game is child hostile. I think this is a good game that you can play, but a kid is not going to be able to really understand the different phases and stuff on their own. So this could be more something that you have them help you with. But I think that these are on-ramp games for something. This is another one. This is also Anna Blackwell. This is Apothecaria. And this one, a little bit more vivid. But again, a lot of text like this. This might be good for an 11, 12-year-old, but in terms of my nephew, he'd be like, whoa, what am I reading, a novel here? So um, I think maybe for a lot of viewers, you're like, yeah, no crap. Like, obviously, that's too complicated. I'm coming from Glimmerwood Grove here, and Glimmerwood Grove is different than Heroes Hollow because we got uncle energy going. But I do like that all of these games allow the kid to be creative, to use their artistic skills. All right. Um, and actually, let me show you this one other one over here. I looked just about everywhere for this. It was lower in the pile. So if you wanted to do like a drawing one, a generative drawing one, I think In Ruins be really good. This is a new one from M. Allen Hall. And this one still, you're going to need, you're going to have to, I mean, all of these, you're going to have to help the kid, especially based on their reading skills. But I think, though, just getting them used to the language of how these things work, I'm always surprised at how much more he understands than I think he will. And he can sometimes put together like rules faster than I can because he doesn't have expectations going into it. He really picked up on Harper's Quest fast. But again, something like this, probably, I think this could be a good way to assist you in creating the dungeon and then going through it. I think that will be a very appealing part of a process, is to say, what are we going to do with this dungeon now? Well, we're going to play. We're going to use it. And it's like, whoa, we created this, and then we're actually going to go around it and explore and have an adventure. That's highlighting the thing about these types of games that are the real hooks. Because other games, it's like, yeah, you just open it up, it's sitting there, you walk around, you don't feel connected to it. But you know how much more it means to walk from a throne room to the library to the study if you were the one who decided where all that stuff was. And a lot of times, if it's a little bit too complicated, but still like able to be like, the concept of it is understandable, a lot of what I'll do is like ask for prompts. So I haven't tried this one yet, but I think this one would be a winner like that. Artefact. This is another one that I think is so good at subverting the dominant paradigm here. Now, this is a journaling game. It was one of the first solo games that I really thought was cool, which is surprising probably for a lot, because I'm not known for being a lover of journaling games. But I just thought that this was such a unique way of doing this story, in that you are basically an artifact. You are a sword or a shield or an instrument, an ornament, you'd be a shoe, all kinds of things. And basically, you are just going to be like waking up, experiencing how it's used in that time period. And then, like all things throughout history, you kind of you're not always in use. You might be in a museum, you might be in storage, you might be lost on a battlefield, but then you get picked up again. And so I thought it was really good, just in terms of shifting the POV around. And I think this is the type of lateral thinking creativity that can make, like, it might be, for some kids, I think it might be strange to say right away, you're this other person. What does this other person think? They might not be able to think like as another person right away, right? Because abstraction doesn't really click in until they're about 11 or 12. But if you say, no, you're this thing, right? Kids love to humanize objects, personify them. And so asking about the experience of this shield, instead of asking about like a knight, might help them to think not as a human, and therefore not as themselves. Whereas if they're just thinking like a knight, they might just stay in that frame of their own mind. What is this? Oh, this must have been like a Kickstarter. Yeah. Have not played this one yet, but Boy, this is from Matthew Morris, does a lot of the like little solo stuff for Mouse Ritter. Interestingly, a video I watched from Geek Gamers from a long time ago talked about how Mouse Ritter seemed like a great pick for playing with uh, her kids, but when she started playing, the kids kind of lost interest. That that is, I think, can happen with any kid at any time with any game, no matter what. So I'm not saying that that's like the experience of everyone. And then there was also that dude who I hope he figured things out. He's trying to get his family to play. Does anyone remember what I was talking about? And the family just did not want to play. It was, I think, Dragonbane or something. But you're gonna hit or miss. And honestly, again, anybody who has had kids of their own or who are part of their family or whatever in their lives, they know, you just can't take that stuff personally, because sometimes kids are like, dude, I don't want to listen to this right now. I don't want to sit here and learn how to play this. All you can do is make sure that you have like the best possible um, sort of pitch, I guess. Um, this game not quite as colorful, but I think it's hard to find a kid that wouldn't love a hex map of the high seas. Now, this also has solo rules in it. This is such an interesting game too. Character sheets, big draw. Being able to fill this out. I mean, how cool is any game that instead of like just filling out your strength, you get your max strength as being barfed out of a skull's mouth. This one would be definitely a little too hard for my nephew's age group. I think it would be a little bit too much for them to sort of play on their own, especially at first. There'd be a lot of checking in, but I think this would be a good adventure to go on. And these isometric maps are just awesome, just amazing. I mean, they're thrilling to look at. They're so intricate, tons of fun stuff. But I was gonna say this game is super interesting because it is actually, first of all, it has tons and tons of tables, and it also is a combination of Mouse Ritter. It says players play as the adventurous explorers, the Lilliputians, who were the little tiny people from Gulliver's Travels. This adventure game will build on mechanics of Mouse Ritter, but Lilliputian does not end there. This zine will come with conversions to make these little adventurous sailors into steampunk Victorian era skyship captains for use with Into the Odd or Electric Bastion Land. It will also come with the conversions to outfit Lilliputians as hardened seafaring traders and pirates for use with Cairn. With rules for open ocean hex crawling, solo sailing, naval combat, building ships, creepy sea monsters. Yeah, I'm wondering if any of it... I don't think anything strikes me as like too scary here. Nah, it's a unicorn. I think this one does satisfy number 7 though, which is close to number 3. But I think again, kid is gonna like a game if they're able to absorb some of your enthusiasm, like genuine enthusiasm, hard to fake, hard to replicate that pure energy. And so I think you're more likely to do that if the game works on 2 levels. You know, I don't really know what like Pixar movies are now, or if Pixar still even is a studio. Are they even a studio, or are they owned by Disney now? Doesn't matter. Point is, when those their first like really landmark movies came out, I remember a lot of people said that they just really appreciated bringing their kids with them because the movies worked on 2 levels. They communicated with the adults with sort of a wink wink, and there were things that are happening on 2 levels where it's like it's a shibboleth, like a cipher, where the kid doesn't, it flies right over their head, and it's not because you're tricking the kid, it's because the adult would know that like no adult would write that without meaning something else, if that makes sense. And so a game like Lilliputian, I feel motivated to play this. And if I feel motivated to play this, Can I share some of that infectious enthusiasm? Yes, because it's gonna make the kid want to know why does Uncle Malone think this is so cool? Why? What is fun for him? What could be fun for me? What can I help with? Can I help make the ship? Can I help make the map? Can I, in combat, can I choose what weapon we use? Yeah. I mean, if you beat me in rock, paper, scissors 8 times and I get dynamite. This one's an asterisk, just wrapping up the sort of honorable mentions. I have not played this one, but BB and I will play this time that I go out there. But this is Badger and Coyote. It's technically a duo game, not a solo game. But as you might be able to guess, you play a Badger and a Coyote, and it's got these cute little character sheets, and it's kind of fun because you can actually get a pebble, and the pebble is sort of like the Lord of the Flies conch. The person with the pebble is the one who has the chance to say what's happening, or like, I tried to climb over this, but I wasn't able to, right? And the Badger and the Coyote have certain like capabilities. One has stuff that the other can't do, so they have to work together. And they're trading the pebble back and forth. So I think this would actually be awesome. You could play it as a duo, you and a kid, or like my nephew and niece playing it together. This would be really good because it would show them to take turns to work together, and to manage their sort of like frustrations with each other, to use the other person's advantages and bring the best out of them. It also has you establish a daily goal, so that can sort of get them in the habit of thinking about like, how are these games structured? They're not going to think of it like that. They're not going to say, oh, I'm understanding how the day is structured in the loop of play. But this is the kind of implicit lessons that easily get carried forward in future games. A kid might not even know, but it's like, yeah, the way that I play this game rhymes with this game. And this is sort of a bonus. I'm not going to say it's a requirement, but this has some good information about badgers and coyotes. So if they could learn something in these games, that would be really cool, like even beyond whatever the game is. And the other thing is the adventures are great. I think this is a model for what type of adventures you probably want to create if you're playing with kids. Rayun, who's one of the mods for the member server, I think is playing Dolmenwood, and that is going to be something that is very, very like inviting for a kid. I mean, I just got finished painting almost all of the minis here. Look at this little friar I did here. Look at that. So the art and everything, but it's a little bit more on the complicated side. So that's going to change the way that the kid gets invited in, right? I mean, how much of that do you explain? How much of the stats do you have them understand? Or is there some sort of proxy way that you could talk about it, or you just prompt them? That's obviously going to be something that you titrate to the kid. But these adventures, there's these simple story twists. I like I am your father, because you could do this if you're actually like estranged, and just be like, hey, so what if this coyote was this badger's father, and the badger never knew that, but the coyote's here now and he's got his act together? Don't you think the badger should forgive him? And then the kid's like, I think we should roll on it. And my sympathy stat is -2, and I'm going to roll a d4, and it's roll over 25. Look at this idiot. Hi, guys. But no, these right here are like the descriptions of the adventures. That's great. That's about how much you want to make, and there's tons of them. I think there's like 20. Utterly unbelievable. Ruffled feathers. Ow. Crock of lies. Yeah. 20 different ones. Easy, snappy, beautiful. The last one here from the honorable mentions. Obviously, these two would need to be adjusted. I mean, it's about taverns and like the RPG tavern, really you just change it to like root beer. It's really not that. It's not constantly being like, yeah, let's booze again, and then hey, roll 6. Oh, cool. You drank, but you're still driving your wagon. But that's cool because hey, look, it's actually more fun when you've got it. There's nothing like that. So what is cool about this is much like these, Broken Cask by Derek Kamal is really really cool, very helpful when I was just starting out. This is basically, let me demystify this for those of you that know. Broken Cask is 4 Against Darkness, but just like running a tavern. And what I like about this too is that first of all, it's really simple. Everything's cause and effect, but it like creates a story, and it's all going to come back to this table right here. This is it. It's like a dungeon crawl, but instead you have a guest who's like won't stop farting in the corner or something like that. It's super good at crafting a narrative, and the economy and inventory management super low. And yeah, I mean there are some parts where maybe it. Honestly, I don't even really know. I mean, it's a pub, right? So you have food, you have drinks. When I was a kid, I knew that adults drank beer. I was not ruined by that fact. I mean, they occasionally drank it in front of me. And I think I'm okay. Sorry. Hold on a second. I gotta bite my collar for a few minutes. All right. So before I get into the my 2 nominations, we are going to do a quick review. This is a prototype copy of Goblin by, I believe, Wojciech Rosinski. And this was sent to me. I was not given any money for this review. I was asked to do a review. I thought it'd be good to review it as part of this video, just because I think just from the art, it looks like it could. It looks like my nephew would like it a lot. It's nice and vivid. It's got a nice sheen to it. And they are launching a Kickstarter. Let's actually look here. Yeah, March 2026. Looks like there's going to be 3 of these games. Guard, Kobold Squad, Goblin, a fantasy adventure where you are the monster, sort of. And so the collection's called Misbehave by Hexy Studio. And it's 3 standalone solo RPGs, each presented as a short book. But this time, you're not the hero. You're the guy on the wrong end of a sword. Oh, no. And here's the big thing. No prep, no scheduling, no game master. So I would say right off the bat, my first impressions are that, again, it's a review copy, so all pending what the final is. But looks about right in terms of setting up expectations for play. Like, I think if I were to slam down Burning Wheel and say, do you got an hour? We might get through the table of contents, but here I'm looking at a nice sense of completion here, and also lots of bright, beautiful art. As far as scary, I don't think it's scary. It depends. The goblins have red eyes, but I think because so many of them are silly, it's, for instance, like, where's this one here? Yeah, like this guy here. I think that's pretty good signal that like these are rascals and they're not going to actually munch you. They are, there's a lot here in talking about like working on 2 levels. There's a lot in this that is going to give a nod to both 40K and other OSR type tropes about goblins or orcs or grots. Their currency is teeth. They have sort of a Manchester, or what is it, Manchester? I don't want to upset a whole soccer franchise, but like the orcs from 40K are designed on like soccer hooligans from. All right, I want to apologize to the city of Manchester. I don't know why I thought they were particularly. I don't know where I got that. Maybe I thought that. I just thought. I don't know. I don't know the difference. I'm apparently orcs are designed after like all working class British soccer fans, so it was wrong of me to pick out Manchester. Crap. Okay. I'm a dead man. All right, so yeah, so again, it's going to work on those 2 levels. It's a nice hex crawl, and it has some nice options. But yeah, I don't like this. To me, I think that is actually quite close to any sort of Nickelodeon watching kids' usual art style that they'll see in a lot of their cartoons. It certainly looks good. It's very high quality. The questions of like, will it encourage imagination? Yeah, for sure. I think so. Will it encourage creation? Maybe indirectly. This is definitely going to be a roll and decide type game. There are lots of things that can happen. There are lots of choices that can be made. But for the most part, like what occurs in a game like this is just going to occur, right? It's not giving you prompts and saying you walk into a field like what is there. So this I think would be a good choice to just if you wanted to immerse a kid into the initial sort of like rhythm of gameplay. And I think that a lot of kind of, shall we say, For Against Darkness type games are going to be like that. And the thing is, in terms of solo gaming, that is, some people, that's the primary type of solo gaming they like doing. Early on, when I first started picking up solo play, I thought that that was the big like separator, that you liked Ironsworn type games that were open, or you liked For Against Darkness. And I don't think I was totally wrong. I mean, there are certainly other genres there. There's journaling games. There's games like Alex T makes a lot of extremely elaborate dungeon delve games that are going to create like a much richer narrative texture alongside just the procedural generation. But this, I think, just in how luxurious the illustrations are on each page of this, I think a kid is going to feel eager to go to the next place. And I think they're going to be really, as the fine people of England might say, all cities, even Manchester, I would say, would be chuffed to bits. Kids would really like if you gave them the option of like, where do you want to go on the map? Because this is how the map goes. You can move one at a time. You start in a goblin village. There's a gnomish village up here. There's a wizard's tower, the cave, the battlefield, the witch's hut. And then when they're traveling across land, if I have this right, there's also sort of an overland travel type thing. There is an advancement of 3 different stats, which is your, if I have it right, your sneakiness, your spelliness, and your stabbiness. And spoiler alert, you go to the last page, if you are not a goblin that has spelliness powers, or you don't have a pointy hat, then you take D20 damage. And if you don't have a D20, you just take 20 damage. And that's going to kill you, because that's, what was my health here? Yeah, my health was at 6. The pointy hat thing is for real. I think this is a huge selling point for a kid, is that when you equip things, you equip them. I thought this was great. So like you get this as the blank inventory, and it's like, oh, do I have room for that? Put it on. Put on the hat. Right off the bat, you are, the whole point of the game is trying to get this hat right here. And so you're going to roll for a one of 3 different types of hats: the tin hat, the dirty hood, and the pointy hat. From here, I think the best way to just show is to spend I think we could probably, for those of you who are not 8, I think we will probably be able to give you a good view of how this game goes by just playing it for 5 minutes. So let's try that now. All right, let me zoom, and there we go. So I love this right off the bat. You are a goblin named blank O blank Lin. So let's see. I think we'll do blank. Okay, so I think we'll do Jorma. Jorma O Jorma Li. Yeah, that works. And now we are going to have to determine our stabbiness, our sneakiness, and of course our spelliness. Not smelliness, spelliness. So I think for this, just to represent our character here, I can think of none better than the little goblin meeple from Severed Books here. And start that right in the goblin village. And then we're going to roll 1d6. And I think that I might have a dice that works. A die. I can't decide. Normally, I would use my beautiful Falling Leaves dice from Dice Nest, but so I don't want to cross streams here in Probos. So I feel called to use either my Gremlins dice, my Circus dice, my Pizza dice, my Cat dice, or, of course, my Llama dice. So I'm going to get a d6 from each of those, roll to see who the winner is. It better be Pizza. Dice Gladiators ready, representing the Circus dice, representing the Pizza dice, representing the Llama, representing the Cat, and representing Gizmo from Gremlins. Gentlemen, I want a clean roll. May the best dice win. Gremlins or Pizza. Did every single... What is this? Okay. Do not feed after midnight, but what is it? That's a 6. Gremlins has 1, narrowly beating out Llama. Everyone else was a 2. 2 rhymes with the first part of losers. That's me. Stabby. Sneaky. Spelly. That was the worst roll of my entire life. A 1, 3, and a 1, which is actually derived. A roll of 1 to 2 means -1, 3 to 4 is 0, and 5 to 6 is +1. So, Jormalin's stats are -1, 0, and -1. Perfect. And then... if you find this method too random, then distribute the following values. Next, roll d6 plus 4 for your health. 3. So I got 7 health. And then 10 plus 2d6 for my teeth. 3. Does this die roll anything else besides a 1 and a 3? You know what? I'm going to feed this after midnight and put some water on it. All right, 14. Now, before our journey, we pick one of the hats. A tin hat protects your noggin. If an enemy rolls maximum damage, you take none instead. That's got to be the best one. Dirty hood, once bright red, now a grimy rag. If the damage rolled when fleeing is 3 or 4, you slip away unscathed. Pointing hat, reserved only for goblins of great wisdom. Have a peek at the contents of the secret pages 18 and 19. Well, we're going to take... I took a pointy hat last time. I'm going to take the tin hat. Kind of looks like a Hershey Kiss. When you acquire a crown fragment, you may immediately return to the Goblin Village and pick one of the following boons. You cannot pick the same boon twice. You can increase your stats by 1 and health by d6. When rolling for teeth, you may re-roll 1 die. Pick 1 beast, 1 gnome, 1 monster. From now on, they only deal half damage. And from now on, all goblins address you as boss. So you get each of these once. Which I maybe would say you could bring yourself up to +2 in all of them. But after retrieving the 7th fragment, you don the crown, become the new Goblin King. And so The value in parentheses for weapons is the damage you deal. +1 to attack means +1 to your stabbiness during combat. Fist is D2, stabber D4, and I guess if you have an X next to it, it's a certificate of goblin quality, such that if you roll a 1 on damage, you then roll a D6, and on a 1 or 2, the weapon breaks. So you start in the goblin village. Deep in the heart, so we're right here. Deep in the heart of the woods lies a hidden village of crooked clay huts, this ramshackle place where the goblins call home, protected not only by walls, but by the foul stench that would drive any man, elf, or dwarf away, but not a goblin. And since I have 14 teeth, I need a weapon. The best one I can get is a stabber on a stick. Stinky potion tastes great, and you could heal 1d4 heart. So that's 5. What does a stabber on a stick give me? D4 and +1 to attack. I'm going to do that. So what is this? I want a stabber on a stick. So that would be like this. And then I would put like a little stabber there. All right. And so that one is D4 +1. All right. And so we can also ask the matron for help. I have to pass 4 of spelliness. And so these checks, this is a great way to do, like, to teach kids checks. So you have to pass a 4 of spelliness. I have a -1. And so I have to, I roll a 1, of course. I fail. And so the matron is annoyed by your pitiful pleading. On your next test, roll 2d6 and keep the lower. Teach them about disadvantage. And I believe we can either go to the road or the woods, and that is basically overland travel in between. So this is great. This is nuts, bolts, bread, butter, oregano, and salami of role playing. Let's go into the woods. Because we're stupid. Oh, wait a minute. The swamp covers 3 hexes, though. So, in fact, maybe we can go straight to the swamp. Seems like a bad idea. You just wait. The fertile swamp is rife with deliciously foul smells and goblin delicacies. Goblin youths flock here to forage worms and hunt toads, though the slimes prowling the depths ensure not all return home. Try to fish something out. Roll d6. How about a 1 or a 3? A 5. Must be my birthday. A gnome villager is picking herbs. I have to beat 3 sneakiness to sneak up on and land an automatic hit. Well, I failed. So now, I guess, do I have to fight the gnome? I think I do. And then there's like a little bestiary in the back here. Might as well do a fight. Oop. Why is my thing going so slow? All right, so this would be a gnome villager. So we just go to the back here. Gnomes. Strength is 3, d4 damage, 5 health, and has 2d6 teeth. So with a strength of 3 versus my indomitable stabbiness of -1. Look at, how is that possible? Oh, that's what I rolled originally. Got it. I forgot to drive. So the strength of 3 is like the target number. So I have a -1. That means I have to at least roll a 4. Hey, I got him. All right. So I roll a 4. That means he doesn't hit me. I hit him, and it is d4 damage +1. I am not going to take a gremlin die. I'm going to take the first D4 I pull out of here. I'm going to go D. Are you kidding me right now? Okay, I got the gremlin D4. 1. I hit him for 1, so he has 5 left. Let's do another check here. 2. I got hit. That means I get hit for D4. Oh, wait. I had D4 +1 damage. So I hit him for 2. I think I have to zoom out. I think I'm slowing down. That's better. So I hit him for 2. He has 3 left, but he's going to do D4 against me. Oh my god. 4? Do I have any armor? Nah. So I'm down to 3. A 6. Do not feed after midnight. And I'm going to do D4 plus 1 again. 3 plus 1 is 4. So he's dead. I now roll 2d6 teeth. And from there, I get 8 teeth. So I would add that to my teeth total. And I assume you can see how it goes from there. If I were to run, it would be an agility test, I guess. Nope, not an agility test. That's right. I've never fled a battle, real or imagined, in my life. That's not how I do things. But if you do that, you just take D4 damage, unless you have the whatever, the dirty hood. So yeah, I would move into the next one, whichever direction I want it to go. And the point is to bring back either the crown fragments or enough teeth to pay 40 for a crown fragment, trying to get 7 without dying. I think that there's, from a kid's playing perspective, I think this is a real home run. It's going to make them feel like they are playing a real role-playing game. And it's going to start populating their mind grapes with ideas for when you do have some of those less like mechanically emergent games, when you have more games where they have to come up with different ideas on their own. This will create a template in their head to say, well, it could be like that, but maybe a little bit different. Very easy to understand. It has a lot of the basic things, rolling on tables, doing skill checks, making choices like when to stay and fight, when to run and live to fight another day, maybe a little bit of inventory management. But this is a game, and I'm telling you this is the only piece of wisdom I've ever had in my life. If the kid dies, the kid's character passes to the next realm, make sure that you keep that consequence, because if you alleviate that consequence, first of all, it's hard to walk that back. You're going to be doing that all the time. And over time, they're going to be less interested because they're going to feel like there's no stakes. And without the stakes, there's no tension. Without the tension, there's not a desire to win. Without the desire to win, there's no desire to improve. Without the desire to improve, there's going to be no persistent play. Without that, they're going to start doing pogo sticking. Okay? They're going to start pogo sticking as their hobby. So yeah, I think this is a great game to play with a kid. I think this is, compared to the other ones, this is actually one that I think when you play enough, this is one that eventually the kid will take up to bed and just be able to play on their own, which I don't think would be possible for the other ones. Now, in terms of how much interest it holds for me or for you, well, your mileage may vary. My mileage may vary just based on how much we like games like this. You know how I was saying earlier, there's like the 4 Against Darkness versus Ironsworn? I think more and more, if I tried to divide 2 categories of solo games, I think it would be better. You'd catch more by breaking it up like this. Are you somebody who likes a snack or a meal? And this to me is a snack. It is a game that I can know everything that's going to happen by flipping through the pages. It might distract me for a little bit. I can appreciate it from a design perspective in the same way that, you know, somebody might appreciate like something that somebody else wrote or drew, just because it's like, hey, this is cool that this person created this. This thing's really beautiful. It really works. But I really mean this literally. I cannot connect with a feeling that would make me want to play this game. And I don't mean that in a harsh way. It's just like, I'm actually curious. Those of you who are really drawn to games like this, what is it about games like this that draw you in? Because A lot of things that I'm looking for are discovery, um, difficult problems that require contemplation or novel fixes. And I also think I'm not very quantitatively minded. I'm not somebody, I like crossword puzzles more than Sudoku. And so if it's just a matter of like shifting the tiles into place to get the outcome I want, that's not an intellectual task that I'm extremely interested in. But that is completely preference because from just a standpoint of like what I am assessing out in this video, if we take a look at this list right here, other than number 3, and really it's not fair to say that 3 is X'd out. I don't dislike it. It's just not something I'm drawn to. But if we were to grade it here, can a kid comprehend it? Yep. Is it a challenge? Yep. Is it scary? Not really. Does it encourage imagination? Yeah. And I think that comes down to this. It's very vivid. Encouraging creation? Probably not as much there, but it's going to plant seeds. It's going to show them the template because this is like, again, bread and butter, salt and pepper, twigs and linen. This is what these sorts of experiences are made out of. And does it work on 2 levels? I don't know. I'm curious to know though. Like truly, in the comments, if you're somebody who does feel drawn to games like this, what is it? Because I'm not above being convinced of something. For instance, For Against Darkness, I remember there was a comment a long time ago where I was kind of giving something similar to this, probably less informed, probably talking out of my behole. But I think I was saying something very similar to this. And someone wrote in the comments that the true attraction of For Against Darkness is the modularity of it. How like you keep getting new different supplements. And 4AD is a great example of like, here's a supplement that you can add to put towns in your game. Lock that into place. Here's something that you can make bigger dungeons with. Here's something that will give you different NPCs. Here's something for quests. Here's something that builds a subterranean level to your dungeon. And that's interesting to me because even if infinite possibility is not held within that book, it is held in the idea that I can keep Legoing these books together. So that leaves me with the last thing, which is I don't think they're quite ready yet to share the other ones, but I'm certain they're going to be just as finely crafted and well made as this. And that's something else I will say for the review. It's a very cohesive game that works really well together. There was no part of this where I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? I think that they did what they set out to do in making a very straightforward game that is nice and snappy. It's a snappy snack. But I'm curious to see how the Kobold one and the guards, if they move together as well as what they put in the future, because it could be that this creates a sort of little universe that you can start to, I think the word again is a modularity to it. But yeah, thanks for the review copy. I appreciate sending it all the way from across the pond. And beautiful game, beautiful job, and highly recommend, especially for those of you who are looking to find a game that a kid is gonna is a bedtime game. Can I stay up 7 extra minutes to play Goblin? Prototype. I know that's not the name. I was just kidding. I'm working on humor. I'm reading this book called How to Be. So Notorious, this is one that satisfies the last one I want to say here, which is colorful and vivid. This is a huge bonus. These two, my favorite lay flat games, they just actually came kickstarting a card game for this now. This is a game that I think has just the right level of open-endedness. There are basically, it's D6 for almost everything, and it will provide enough options in different scenarios that they'll be, for the length of a campaign that a kid can play, it's going to never be the same game twice. And again, you're like a bounty hunter in this, and everything you could see it just with this right here. Like, yes, it would be nice to have a list of 200 names, but we don't want to overwhelm anything here. And these are all great names for the different species, different planet naming, and it's got a nice tight loop of play. Where's Waldo moments here, and these exploration events, right? They roll on the exploration table. These are the events. And basically it's like a D66 table. You can read them together. You crouch at the edge of a clearing. Soldiers from the controlling faction are rotating a large weapon, aiming it at a ship. Choose one. And it gives you the prompts, and then it says, watch as they blow the challenging faction's ship out of the sky. Gain 1 favor. Why did the pilot ignore this weapon's targeting lock? Or cause a distraction, allowing the ship to escape. Lose 1 favor. A hostile scout appears behind you. +2 whatever. Why do you recognize the ship? So this is great too, putting them in these kind of small moral dilemmas to, first of all, to allow your kid to explore that conundrum, see how they feel about that, encourage them to consider multiple sides of it. And again, you're like, do we really want to blow that ship out of the sky? Yes. Okay, but like think about how many, the crew that's on board. Look at that crew. They have moms and dads, and blow it out of the sky now. And then you're like, oh, okay. Well, it blew up, but everyone, you know what? They had ejector seats. And the kid says, give me a target lock on everyone floating down. And you're like, okay, let's actually bring you to the clinic again. All right, so I know this video is getting a little bit long in the tooth, and this is sort of one of the 3 prime things that I wanted to show, but I did this intentionally. I played the delay game a little bit because in the members Discord, I allow there to be a cozy quarantine zone for people who I see as troubled. They love these cozy games, and I allow them to be there as long as they stay quarantined in that channel. And I am an anti-cozite. I'm an anti-cozy gamer, but I do have a heart. I have empathy quite a bit, actually. They say I have an extraordinarily high level of empathy and one of the highest levels of humility they've ever seen. And so I do let them do whatever they do. They like to read game books and rub their feet together like that. And, oh, did you hear about the new game? It's about a glowworm named Thomas. And, whatever. They're figuring it out. I know that they're going to come out of this. But I figured if I could play the delay game a little, maybe I can shake off Carmilla and the others who are going to give me crap for this. But this is not a cozy game, okay? It's not. I mean, what part of Perils and Princesses, a fairy tale adventure RPG, sounds cozy? And if that does, listen to the back. Once upon a time, a party of valiant princesses embarked on a grand adventure. They each received a magical gift from their fairy godmothers to aid them in their quest through the enchanted it's a forest, though, whatever adjective they use. They bargain with pixies, outwitted goblins, danced in the moonlight at a mossy shrine, and even stopped for a picnic with a unicorn. Okay, so I think we need to actually look at what is in the game here, because let me tell you something about Perils and Princesses. And this is a newer game from Outrider Creative. And it's written by, I know their name sounds like the person who wrote Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, Sean Foer, Foer. And I have the core game here, as well as the Secret of the Night Market, which is an adventure for it. Both of them were extremely reasonably priced. This one was $25. This one's $15. And the $25 core book, very nicely made. I printed out a character sheet with my Princess Jormana. And this book is, about 110 pages. In all seriousness, this is a really, really good game. Like, this is a really well-written game that has its own system, right? Like, to me, this is what makes almost any game worth my time, is if the person creates at least aspects of their game system that are bespoke. I'm not saying that every game that uses Fate or Forge in the Dark or the Iron Sworn system is not good. I'm just saying that, like, if that's what a person chooses to do, then there has to be something spectacular about that offering that makes me interested in it. And I have a video that's polarizing about Mörk Borg and the overusage of that template. But even so, and I dragged this thing out to demonstrate this, and I actually almost included this one in the lineup because Frontier Scum is this acid Western role playing, but I'm not sure. I have to take a closer look at everything in here. But there's really not any of the usual stuff that you see in a Mörk Borg game. But this, to me, like the layout, the ideas, all of this was special enough. Plus the tables in here, my goodness. I mean, a little bit scary there, but you compare this to most like Borg-like games, and they're going to be splashed with neon, and there's a bunch of like blood just gorging out of somebody's head, and we don't really see that here. And I was afraid I was about to turn the page and just see, yeah, there you go. But I just love the layout of this, of like an old-timey newspaper. Has such an awesome coherent theme. It still gives the Mörk Borg sort of punk take on this, but it's just so good. And I was like, it would be kind of cool to have a game that if you really did want to show your kid how to use the Mörk Borg system, you could maybe do this. But again, I don't know. I would have to read through it more closely. And I know, again, I've shown this several times, but I just absolutely love the adventure in this. The sample adventure, which usually I don't care about these at the end of the book, but it's like all these prison cars, and your whole adventure is just literally moving through these prison cars. I know that some families have some different like sort of things just about like guns and weapons and stuff like that, and so I'm not suggesting it necessarily, but yeah, it's incredible. And so this is what it takes at this point for me to pull a Mörk Borg off the shelf and buy it. Otherwise, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna buy skiing Borg or harmonica Borg or macadamia Borg. I'm not going to do it because I already know what's there. I know that it's just wearing a costume. And so when I saw that this system, and sure, this system shares things in common with other systems, but it actually has some interesting mechanics that I think are worth talking about. It has this gift dice. It has your virtues. It has these different special abilities and these innate abilities, and your gift dice are used like you do receive a gift from your fairy godmother or whatever, but what that gift is really defines what type of person you are. So let me give you the as best as I can the overview of how the system works, and I think too I should probably just do a little bit of a flip through so you could see like the really great art in this. This is, you have to design your princess. Princess could be anyone, a fairy godmother. And then you choose your gift. You have a wild heart, enchanting voice, sprightly agility, elemental connection, and different abilities that go with each of these. And they're very on sort of theme when it comes to princess type gifts, but they also are expanded. Like they do a really good job with it. Again, it's just well written. So here's how it goes. All right, so you're going to start play by creating a princess. Again, princess could be anybody. Their maybe definition of who princesses are in media is a little bit wide. They mention Bilbo, Luke Skywalker, maybe Frodo, but they do accentuate that this is really anybody who is an adventurer defined not by combat training or by strength, but by these inner virtues. And these virtues um, emotional resilience, like moral compass, these kind of things are going to have heroic weight in this game. And it's actually something I appreciate. I'll talk a little bit about that after I give an overview here. But a couple things that set the game apart as well. Like I said, the first one is you get this magical gift from a fairy godmother. And this gift is really, it's, it really is a class system of like specialization, because each of these gifts are like a build that you are going to be able to expand on to generate an idea of the archetype or framework that you're working in. And it really does a good job with these, looking into each of them in a way that like has things that are on brand. This like Wild Heart is going to be sort of druid, right? Like interaction with animals. And so for each of these, there's a starting item loadout, talents, and then these innate abilities. Whisperer, you can speak with animals and intuit their feelings, and you're a natural climber. You have advantage on any virtue tests, that's stat test, involving climbing or tricky terrain. And I guess I should just get that over with right out of the way. Is like it's a D20 roll under system. And so you're just going to roll and try to roll under your virtue level. And you have some opportunities to use what are called gift dice and heart dice to restore energy, use special skills, or help out a teammate. And then you have these special abilities that you gain one of them per level. And these you use your gift dice for. And you can kind of see in the brackets right here, it'll either say like sum or dice. This is just the two ways that these are kind of uh, like numerically generated, whatever part of them, duration, amount, whatever, is either by the sum of all the gift dice that you roll or the number of dice that you roll. I'm going to talk about that. But when you do that, the more dice that you roll, the higher chance you have for like a big effect. But also, when you roll doubles on any gift dice, there's a mishap that can happen. But yeah, like this Wild Heart does a great job, and then sprightly agility, right? So you have a grappling hook with rope, athletics, dancing. You're evasive, cat-like, but also you have these special abilities. And then there's also like unique mishaps for each of these, and there's 6 of these: elemental connection, kitchen magic, healing touch, powerful friendship, sage intellect, and all of these things. Um, are really, really well thought out in terms of like the flavor, but also the mechanics and how each of them has something that you're like, yeah, that actually could be a pretty good one. I think with a lot of games that are start with a template to give, which is a good thing to do, right? It's like to give yourself structure. You start with an idea and you build on it. And I think like the system, probably if you were to compare it to anything, it's got similar DNA to Into the Odd. Um, but some games, like in order to fulfill all of the aspects of whatever theme they're trying to build on, there ends up being a little bit of like this aspect of this archetype's a bit of a stretch, and so it feels imbalanced, either like mechanically underpowered or like it just doesn't feel as well defined. But I think all of those are really well built out and lets you have a nice diversity of different archetypes you're going to be able to draw on, of this kind of like true archetypical notions that you have in your head of this kind of like princess in fairy tales or whatever it might be. And some of them, like healing touch, are obvious. You look at kitchen magic, the innate abilities here are forager, making different teas, and then you have these things that sound familiar: goodies, concoctions, eat me, drink me, porridge. But all of these are essentially like spells, and some of them are within them have the ability to like generate other spells as well. And so I really enjoyed that, and it's not rigid either. There is an option of like especially if I were to solo play, I think I would probably take on 2 of these, or at least give my character access to 2 of them. But if you're playing with a kid, especially a kid who's like a Frozen freak, like the kids that watch Frozen 35 times, or what's the other one? With Tangle, I'm not really good at this, but Moana, these kind of movies that kids can get really, really obsessive about them. This is going to be something that it's not only going to call upon that type of like what's happening in the Tanglewood, but it's also got some solid bones to it. The base stats are Resolve, which is pretty much Strength, Constitution, Grace, Poise under Pressure. This is Dexterity, Agility, but it also covers like Charisma, because you are kind of like socially agile, and then Wits, Intelligence, Wisdom, etc. Your starting HP is D4 plus 4. And this also, like, into the odd, if you reach 0, you have to roll on the injury table, and you can experience trauma. And there's sort of an interesting tiered trauma system. Lots and lots of tables to drum up personality. And you also get these talents, which I love. More and more, I'm realizing how important it is to have things like this that are not always mechanical. They give your character personality, and they make them helpful, and they allow them to come up with creative options that feel better and more like valid choices, especially in solo play, where you're like, should I give myself this? Should I give myself advantage? And these are like cooking, sewing, parlor games, masonry, foraging, fiber arts, wayfinding, sailing, theater, blacksmithing, fishing, winemaking, fine art, hunting. And then also we have a basic starting equipment pack, starting dress. Like, are you dressed like a princess? Are you undercover? Did you lose your kingdom? 3 different spreads of armor. I always carry my lantern and oil. Glad I remembered my ruby red lip color. How'd this get in here? Sad music box. And then a bonus item. Weapons. Parasol, frying pan, sling, cooking knife, hatchet, crossbow, battle axe, flail. I'm not messing around. And then these gift dice are the summary right here. D20 virtues. Again, those are stats. D6 gifts. D4 heart. So gift dice and heart dice are special resources. Gift dice are D6s that are tied to your specific magical gift. The things like Wild at Heart, Enchanting Voice, etc. And when you use one of your gift abilities, not the innate ones, but maybe an innate one if it requires this, but this is mostly for the, active ability. You choose how many gift dice you want to roll, and the more you roll, the stronger the effect, because many abilities use the total. That's what it means when it says sum in brackets, to determine how powerful the result is going to be. Or some use the number of dice when it says dice in all caps in the brackets to determine like range, duration. But gift dice are intentionally volatile. After you roll them, sometimes you get them back. 1, 2, or 3, you get to use them and you get them back. 4, 5, or 6, you lose them, but the effect still takes place. And then again, if there's doubles, you lose them and there are mishaps. And these are unpredictable consequences. Some of them are temporary ailments or unusual narrative, magical side effects. But it's good. It creates like a nice natural ebb and flow. Your magic is powerful, but it's never totally safe. And it also presents an interesting sort of risk and reward option, which I always love. And then heart dice are D4s that represent compassion, connection, recovery. You have 1 per level, and you could spend them to have a picnic, to heal yourself, once per level, advancement-wise. Or you can spend them to help a party member. If they fail a virtue test, you can say, here, I'm going to assist you once this combat. You describe how you assist them, roll your heart die, and then subtract that amount from their attempted roll to try and get them under that. And sometimes it's not much, but sometimes it could be just enough to transform it into a success. And that does encourage cooperation, working together, understanding that it's not all just about you, that in order to be successful, you have to work together and you have to sometimes make sacrifices for others, which I think are games don't have to teach lessons like this, in my opinion, but I think the best lessons are the ones that are sort of hidden amidst like strategy. This is not only the right thing to do, is good. It helps your characters. Do you see how helpful it is when you work together? And you have the opportunity once per round to do this as like a reaction. And a reaction is usually using your heart dice, but it could be anything when it's like not your turn, or it can't be anything but certain things. And multiple players can assist on the same roll if it makes sense. And those restore after you rest. Combat is going to use the same roll under system. Again, those who do not care for the combat system and like Into the Odd maybe won't like it. It's going to use the roll under system. You roll resolve for melee attacks called attacks at hand, and grace for ranged attacks. Monsters don't roll to hit. When a monster attacks you, you roll grace to avoid the damage. So movement and actions are straightforward. Every round, you can move somewhere nearby, take one action, whether that's attacking, using a gift, using an item, or what was the thing that they call it? Oh, right, an antic. You could perform an antic, up to your old antics, where you can do like a sort of creative maneuver, like shoving, grappling, distracting, negotiating, and a roll of 1 is a crit hit. A roll of 20 is a fail, and you roll 2. When you succeed, you roll damage dice for whatever your weapon is. Really simple, approximated stuff for like distance bands, and everything is wonderfully flavored to the theme. You know, you have at hand, nearby, stone's throw, or over yonder. Encumbrance is comparing your carried items to your resolve score. If you carry too much, you get weary, and that imposes disadvantage on resolve. Exploration's really fun, and you can. There are pretty well-formed options for traveling. You can go 6 miles a day. You can push it, and you have to test resolve or wake up weary. And use wits to navigate. You can get lost, and also depending on how aware you are of your surroundings, as well as like how familiar or comfortable you are with the zone around you. This is where a GM would determine. Let me find this here. Oh, I'm about to get lost. Yeah, so this is something I think is easily transferable to solo. But basically, adventure. Spending time. During your adventure, spending time could mean something different. It could take 20 minutes to search a crypt, a couple hours foraging in the wilderness, 2 days looking for clues in town. In each of these cases, you're spending your time to complete a task. It gives you some examples of this, and then it says, whenever you spend time, the GM can decide to roll to see if a wrinkle occurs. A wrinkle can be anything that complicates, interrupts, or adds a layer of complexity to an adventure. If the whole party's spending time, the GM only rolls once, even if each party member spends that time on different things. Whenever there's a chance of a wrinkle, the GM should always warn the parties so they're aware of the stakes. The GM can then roll the die. And then roll whenever spending time, a wrinkle occurs at 1. And then again, based on how dangerous the predicament, if it's just dangerous, if it's super dangerous, you're rolling a d4. High chance of there being a wrinkle. Whereas if it's merely unfamiliar, you could roll a d8. Less of a chance. And then it gives a bunch of ideas for wrinkles in all of these different places. Towns, overnight, overland travel, dungeons. It's just like every page, and at first it was because I admittedly had maybe not the highest expectations, but then it just went beyond that, where I was like, okay, this is not just like better than I think. This is really good, and it's really well written, and it's really, really well explained. It seems like the best way of explaining these things. It just feels easy, and I'm somebody who has a really hard time following sort of oddly enough uh, syllogisms that aren't very clear. You know, like if this, then that. And I think sometimes that the language of that does get in the way. But there are, in addition to your gifts, there is magic in the world that could be used by you or by enemies. So there's all different kinds of spells that could be learned, all different kinds of items, magic beans, bury them in the ground and water them. Roll a d6 to see what grows after 1 minute. A beanstalk, a huge fountain, a luxurious cozy cottage, a mossy grove full of fruit trees, a ring of giant toadstools, an awakened tree. It's angry. A nice bestiary, like I said, about 110 pages, and it has an awesome monster maker, curses, strangers, fairy folk, food generator, treasures, and then gives a great example of play. And beyond this is spoiler alert. Inside the back cover and the front cover is an excellent, essentially a GM screen. And everything I just said is there, and it has a nice character sheet that's made into a little booklet here. You have your name, your gift, and who your fairy godmother is. And on the inside, it opens up and wonderful tracking of heart dice, gift dice, etc. And there's this trauma system. So make sure I didn't. Yeah, I talked about spending time. Damage that exceeds twice your maximum HP automatically causes trauma. Rolling an 8 on the wounded table also causes trauma. Trauma is cumulative, and it comes in 3 tiers. The first tier means you can't use your gift dice for 24 hours. The second tier adds a fear response. You still can't use your gift dice for 24 hours, and you now have disadvantage when facing the thing that traumatized you, whether it's a specific creature or situation, like height. The fear ends only when you overcome it. And the third tier of trauma is final. It's the end of the princess's adventuring time. The text in this way gives you a couple different possibilities, and I think you would titrate that for kids. But do you see here how well this game is working on these different levels? Like, this is a game that you could easily craft for just the right level for kids in terms of danger and scaries and complexity. But then I think I could do a game night out of this easily with like just my friends. Not that we would, not that we have the last 3 weekends. But yeah, it just has a really nice distinctive feel. It's very rich, and it gets the most out of the theme, and it explores it in a really surprisingly, to me, and if anyone else is sort of like a little bit exhausted by stories of like girl bosses coming through, all of the men here are either bad guys or idiots, and we just have to come through and clean everything up. And that story becoming more and more just like tiresome, and almost to the point where I worry sometimes about just having the opposite effect on boys' self-esteem. And I think about this when I watch movies with my nephew, and I just think he's seeing these guys who are just like idiots, and they're worthless. And the big victory a lot of times is when they admit how worthless they are. And now I understand there's some sort of like social karma involved in that. I don't want to make this about culture war or anything like that. Because really the thing I really appreciate about Perils and Princesses is that it doesn't fall in to this usual modern caricature of instead of having the power of the feminine spirit, of femininity in these adventure stories. It's not a palette swap, right? So often we just see like, Well, this woman is the hero because she has masculine traits. And again, it's not necessarily a woman, but it's princesses. So and it's not one of these girl boss narratives where everyone else has to become incompetent. Instead, it passes what's that test where it's like talking about what the hell is that test? The Bechdel test. It leans into something more interesting and frankly more human. The idea that traits traditionally coded as like feminine, emotional intelligence, compassion, intuition, resilience, relational powers, these are real strengths with real heroic weight. You don't have to just be like these negative masculine traits are still negative no matter who employs them. And then you have these powerful pieces of the feminine spirit that exist in all of us. And those are seen as like only useful in navigating the back channels of like court, royal court. No, these things have heroic weight. It is something that I think was just really nice to show that these are also things that have a heroic dimension to them. They're not lesser than physical strength or tactical acumen. They're simply different pathways to bravery. And it builds that into the rules. The gift dice reward imagination, heart. The heart dice literally turn empathy and connection into mechanical advantage. Even the trauma system acknowledges that emotional injury is this form of peril and it's not something invisible or secondary, but it actually operationalizes that and shows how that affects a person. Look at this. It makes you afraid to go and face that thing. It makes you weak in or makes you think you are weak compared to that thing. That's, to me, that's a really, really positive, productive, psychologically healthy framework. So the game, isn't saying, so here's these princesses. I guess they got to clean up all the mess that all these Homer Simpson dumbasses made. And it's saying, no, it's saying here's a heroic archetype, and it's rooted in a different set of virtues, and they're equally valid and powerful and adventurous. And that's refreshing because it doesn't diminish anybody. It just simply opens up more ways to be heroic because there are more ways to be heroic. Anyways, I'm not saying I like this game. I wouldn't play it. Princesses. Oh, and then the night market's really fun. This is this adventure a little bit more of a side path, but there are actually, I think, 1.5 other adventures because I'm pretty sure, I'm not entirely certain about this, but I think there are 2 of them. Let me bring those up. I have the PDF. So yeah, really, really nice quick start guide. It is 45 pages, and this is free, and it's on Drive-Through, Itch, and then I think it's Indie Press Revolution or whatever. But this is a lot of the stuff you'd expect, but it goes almost over all of this stuff. You can really play with it. Can anyone? I was looking at this for so long, figuring there has to be some simple thing here that I'm not understanding the joke. But it's like, here are all of these, your gift, right? And it usually says Wild Heart, innate abilities on the bottom of the page, then special abilities. All right. Enchanting voice, items, talents, innate abilities, special abilities. All right. Everyone following? Sprightly agility, innate, special. Elemental connection, innate, special ability. So it left off ties. Tees? Elemental ties? Special abilities? I can't figure it out. I bet it's so obvious. I'm going to be so ashamed. I'm going to write that in my calendar for tomorrow. Self-loathing. But this is what I was actually going to talk about is there is this Sweet Revenge by Destiny Howell that, whoo boy, this is uh, this adventure is bigger than the core book. It's 132 pages, but there is this one here, Sweet Escape, which is also by Destiny Howell, that I think, because it says like, oh man, I'm not sharing. I got to refresh the thing. Sorry. Yeah, in fact, I'm quite certain that this is the case. So Destiny Howell wrote this 20-page Sweet Escape, and then actually, it's literally on page 2. It says that Sweet Revenge is coming on Kickstarter. It's already done, but you can still order it on there. And there are some physical copies of these intermittently. And this one is just 20 pages, but it has like a witch tracker, and all of these have. Mouse Rider does this really well too, where it has like a nice format for adventures, and you can just sort of slide things into them. But Sweet Revenge is 132 pages. It is. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, any game that has candy apple, peanut butter cup, rock candy, yeah, this is definitely going to be a really, really. I mean, come on. So this would be like an adventure that maybe even if it, well, again, is it not, doesn't look that scary or anything, but just an incredible adventure. Again, I think this is quite as affordable as all the others, but this is going to have tons of ideas. This might be something that if you were to GM for kids, you could use this to guide it. It's really straightforward, but this is also something that is just filled with really good ideas. I just was blown away at just how comprehensive all of this was, and how it has tons of art all throughout. It has hex maps in the spreads. There is like set keyed locations as well as generators. So really, really impressive stuff all around with this. All of them have a really tight theming, both in content and art display. All right, this last one here, I hope you stuck around, because I cannot believe that I never saw this before. But this might be one of the most like pound for pound, one of the best game systems I've seen, that is so easy, and it is called Advanced Double D 6. Okay, there's a 6 there. There's an advanced first. Get your mind out of the gutter. So let's talk about Double D Cup 6. All right. So first of all, this company Aether Corp is so interesting. Look them. It's AETHER Look them up on drive-through. They're like these. I don't know what to make of them. I'm truly fascinated. There's all these like handbooks and field guides that are written like seriously, like you are a new member of Aether Corp. Anyways, you can get the original 8-page Double D6 for I think $2 on there. This one is right now $3.50, but usually $5 for the digital one. To the left here, they sell physical copies on Etsy, and there's this quest pack for like $25. I think you get the digital copy, plus you get this. It's basically the book, and it also has like 10 character sheets, smaller ones for like enemy sheets or opponents, a quest planner on the right, and then on the left there's like, I don't really know what it means, but it's like a position thing, like a relative. Let's see. Well, I can't get it. It just is basically, I think, like to judge distance between you and an enemy or whatever. But it is maybe came out in 2023. Maybe I've never seen it before. It was in my FLGS, and I was sitting there and I was like, what in the world is this? It's one of these like half A4. It's like 40 pages. It says copyright 2023. Simple rules, oodles of inspiration, quest planning, freeform spells, collaborative character creation. All right. And in terms of like teaching a kid how to play, or even somebody who's just never played role-playing games, Advanced Double D6 is a fantasy role-playing game with the rules and tools to make up all sorts of characters, creatures, and quests. Lean into your weird and fantastical imagination. Stretch any rule. So it then tells you how to do D66 tables, rolling dice, snake eyes, advantage, disadvantage. Yeah, this is like the position thing that it has there. Basic obstacles, 1 through 12 experience points. And then this is where it really shines. So the whole thing is keyed to like these little initialisms that simplify everything down into what is essentially like a variable. So like right here, you can see it. And essentially what it does is everything that gets a creative name that's toggled a little bit in every game, it boils it down to like, what is that thing and what does it do? Okay. And so your health is H, your defense is D. Instead of saying MP or whatever, it's how many sparks of magic do you have? All right. Wealth, attributes. These are the different types of creatures. And then what's your specialism? You have 3 specialism points to spend across 4 specialisms. A point in a specialism grants you 1 related skill as well as its health and defense points. You can spend all your specialisms on 1 specialism points on 1 specialism or spread them over 2 or 3. And you use these skills to add a bonus to your RR, your resolution roll, which is basically the way that it talks about checks. And then, so the system, you might have a varied opinion on that, take it or leave it. So it tells you how to like, it has a system for creating creatures. And it leads you through this process of what is it? What do they know how to do? What's their experience? Do they have magic? What's your chance of being successful? This is your naming table for anything. You just roll like 1d6 and keep going through. All right, so it'd be like, what is this? 6, 5, 6 would be ew, ow. Or no, wait, ew. No. 6, my, aw, wow, wow, oh, wow, 5. An A-war. Everything here is that it wants you to do in this. It's giving you the definitive algorithm for that. Its traits, well, let's go through it and see what's its traits. But what we really care for is not all of these things, right? We want to know what's terrifying about it. So it will give you these terrifying traits of the enemy. Then the quest generator leads you through all these different 6 phases of planning a quest and tons of refinements. I mean, it's these tables. It was the tables. It's always those damn tables. Tables, maps. If you get the quest pack, you're getting like several copies of these things, and even the maps. What I like about this is it shows you what's happening in games that, like the surface level of this map. What's really happening under this map, something like that, right? It's just showing you what comes first, what comes next, what's going to happen at what letter. And it focuses the players and the GM or the players or whatever onto, especially for those of you who want to do journaling type games but feel exhausted by them. The thing that's important about any person, place, or thing in a tabletop game is not everything about it. It's what's weird about it, what's different about it, what's scary about it. It's the thing that separates that thing from the other things that are like it. And this system that they use here for quest design, look at this inspiration cloud, all of these different examples of how to summon up different beasts. All of it is so, I want to just use the phrase elemental. It is so molecular. It's like, what are the goings ons, right? This is the quest for the flying goblin. All right, well, what's going on? We need some descriptors here. Gives us these words: mayhem, shambles, out of control, higgledy-piggledy. Are there any secrets? What's weird, right? Dangers, delights, inhabitants, inclinations. It's just the nuts, the bolts, the tapioca, and the rhinestones.